We're live.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of In the Spotlight, where we shine a light on entrepreneurs, SMEs, and innovators. I'm Maxine Crow, your host, and I'm really grateful to be here today with the lovely David Abel. Hi, David. How are you this
Hi,
afternoon?
hello, Maxine. Good afternoon. Good to see you. I'm great, thank you. Happy Friday.
Yes, it is. It is, and David's going to have a good offer for our listeners today, and then I'll sum up afterwards in the chat. So, David, yeah, so grateful that we met last year as um,
Absolutely.
part of One Golden Nugget, and we'll come on to that. But first of all, for the audience, introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about how you became an entrepreneur.
Cool. Thanks. Hello to all Maxine's audience. I'm David. I'm the founder of the Digital Light Bulb. Almost 30 years around the retail market and now have my own business. How did I start my own entrepreneurial journey? How did I take the leap? Um, Max, it was 4 or 5 years ago. It didn't feel like a bold move. All I did was write down end goal
Mm,
and 3, 2, 1, and I'd amassed quite an amount of skills over that career journey that I'd had over 25 years.
yeah,
Um, and I like to thank all those managers and guides who helped me. As I say, it wasn't a bold move. There was a big opportunity during COVID for people who wanted digital and e-commerce expertise. Um, and I suited the video format as we moved to Zoom during those
yeah,
lockdown times.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So, did you face any particular challenges? Because you were working, you were employed, and then when you've made that transition, what were some of the challenges that you faced in
Yeah, I
making that
think
transition?
I think nearly everyone who faces that transition has some kind of doubt. They have a voice that people are used to. So unleashing a whole new box of languages, a whole new service, almost rebuilding yourself can be a big challenge in
Mm,
itself. I've always been a good networker. So building a network I'd done within the businesses. I knew everyone from the president, the CEO, my managing director, all the way through to even just support clerical staff. I've always been friendly with other people. So to find your box of language and talk about other things that aren't necessarily your business related was a hard one for me. And a lot of people actually said how undersold I was. Also, with getting myself going, that was probably one of the biggest struggles. But having recognized undiagnosed ADHD from my whole life before, that was one of the hardest challenges to overcome for me. And the path for anyone to find their voice is probably one of the hardest. Um, and saying yes can be daunting. I've always embraced challenges in any role, in any part of life, but I've also walked away from challenges easily as well. So saying yes can be exhilarating. You have a level of accountability. If I say I'm going to do something and it's for somebody who's either high profile or I massively respect, you instantly put that accountability on yourself. And I think once you can get out of that comfort zone and you get a few of those exhilarating wins behind you, then it can become very transformative and very addictive in its own way.
yeah, that's really inspiring. So talk about. You mentioned there the undiagnosed ADHD, and I know we've had conversations
Yeah,
about
we do. Yeah,
about that, and how we're very similar, we're very different walks and paths of life, but very
yeah.
similar in some of those traits. For any of our listeners, that how what kind of top three tips could you give them for sort of managing neurodiversity and
Mm.
those challenges, especially if they're business owners and they may be solopreneurs? What advice could you give them from your
Um,
experience and learning?
yeah, I think for anyone out there a lot of people I meet who have ADHD or an undiagnosed ADHD, they know it. and there's some that don't, and being able to tell someone who has ADHD, or you suspect it that they don't, is something no one will ever do. I did hear of a friend of mine who had it quite severely, and he was told by many others, we think you should go and see someone as well. And I'm not saying recommend you have to go and see someone for it, but I would always advocate some kind of therapy and honesty if you're going to rebuild yourself and come back better than ever before. But with ADHD, there can be a number of several things going on at once. There could be music playing in your head. There can be self-doubt. There can be a complete friction with making the first step. And then on the other side, you can do 10, 15 amazing things, feel like you can do more work than your peers around you without any disrespect to them. And you can find yourself drifting off, to stay on topic. People with ADHD's working memory is the size of a Post-it note versus somebody else who's got an A4 piece of paper, if you were to try and compare the two.
Yeah.
So how you remember things is your ultimate strength or weakness, and how you follow through, because you're going to have so many ideas, so much excitement, so much distraction, that find your strengths, find the weaknesses, laugh at yourself. And I even say to some of my great colleagues, if they're out there, Liv and James, we have a great working relationship, and I just said, if I forget to do something, please remind me. It's nothing personal. I'm not bad at my job. It's just when it comes to this, you've really got to help me, and we get through. So my advice: keep going, look into it, laugh at yourself, because it can be quite a serious condition sometimes as well. You can't handle rejection. You can get very disappointed, disheartened straight away, and keep going. One step at a time. Be patient. Be patient has to be the way forward, I believe.
I completely agree with you. And just for our listeners, just to share with you, I don't know if I'd said this to you before last time we were catching up, but I sit in front of a window, and there's two hearts either side, and on the one it says focus is the key, and on the second one, stay in the present. and when I'm through the day, it's literally just like just looking at these two.
Absolutely.
Reminds them. I'm sure you've got many around your office as well.
For sure.
So tell us about the digital light bulb, and how your services and what you do enrich the lives of others.
Oh, well, that's nice to say they enrich the lives of others. I am someone, as I say, who's worked in retail for 25 years. I have turned over $1 billion career to date, and there is a lot of me that likes numbers and likes the win of growing businesses as well. So enriching their lives, we've grown a few businesses from 0 to 8 figures, or 7 to 8 figures, that I'm very proud of in the last 4 years. But we're their critical friend. We live our life being critical, living with purpose, living with fulfillment. And that's an easy thing to say. It sounds a bit whimsical, but when business owners kind of align their values with their actions, then they start to get purpose. And when they start to actually do those actions, which is something I'm quite good at as well, behind the scenes, being a doer, they start to get fulfillment as well. I've always been tried to be a helpful coach with anyone in the team, whether they're peer or junior. I love listening to their stories, to younger people's stories, and remembering myself being, say, 27, 28, when it was a different life before children, and not their struggle so much, but their social life is one thing. So I don't know if I enrich lives through my traditional e-commerce consultancy. However, where it has changed a lot in the last year is One Golden Nugget is a brand who I've known actually for 4 years, and in the last year we wrote a book with the great Joe Foster, who was the founder of Reebok, and I believe you can win 5 signed copies of said book.
Yes.
Said book.
I have it here too.
Excellent stuff. Like I say, not just led by Joe Foster, but a great cast of, I don't know how well, both business diversity, I guess.
Read out some of the names. Read out
yeah.
some of the names for the audience from the back.
Well, apart from Joe Foster, we got Sir Dustin Plantholt, who is a wonderful guy in America. I can't read everyone's names, and that doesn't mean everybody's not a star. I'm so sorry. Evander Holyfield, the 4-time world boxing champion. Keith Chapman, who was the founder of Bob the Builder, and went on to create Paw Patrol, and so many great people, from Yasmina, who's just turned 26, who's the president of Entrepreneurs Club, and they go to Necker Island. To yourself, Maxine, you know, who's got
I forgot about myself for a minute.
An incredible story. And like I say, I'm so sorry to all the other co-authors. We only have 30 minutes, but please go check them out yourself. Or Maxine, I think they can win 5 copies, right? The book.
Yeah, we'll post
that. Yeah, so try and win a copy, signed from Joe. These stories are transformational. They're the most powerful stories I've heard, and I doubt I'll be involved in a book with quite so much power. But there's a Survive and Thrive 2, and let's hope they may long continue into the future for others.
Yeah, well, thank you, David. And what I will do after the show is share information about how people that are listening, or if they're inspired, want to be part of the How to Survive and Thrive Part 2.
Yeah. So Maxine, you asked me a question about how do I bring value to people's lives, and maybe I was a bit undersold. Maybe that's the ADHD of my working memory. So there's other things about the digital light bulb, as well as being part of this incredible community, which is going from strength to strength. As well, I'm putting the final touches to a speaker agency, which, if people want to get involved in speaker opportunities, we're having some impulse lectures in the summer with some star guests, and you could get involved if you want to be a speaker and learn, and covering great topics from the future of work. And I'm hoping some of my heroes like Ollie Henderson and Yasmina Ellens, who are there, can come to hopefully the story of Reebok, and even advertising and e-commerce stories from some of the best out in there as well. And actually, I give 25% of my time over, Maxine. I know you know this as well, but I wanted to create something different. By leaving behind an old life was to change things. Although I do my technical skills of e-commerce, I decided to create 4 businesses to keep myself busy, each with 10 hours dedicated to each of them. And I took one of those 10 hours just for gifting, for friends, for family now. So as a father of 2 young children who are 9 and 7, I'm able to, with my contracts and my deals, leave at 3 o'clock and be gone till 6 o'clock. And even if that involves driving around my town to gymnastics and swimming for 2 children in different places, all within the same time, then I'm happy to. If I can help my friends or network with amazing, continuously learning, growing, and collaborating with now some inspiring individuals, just allow me to give more back as well. So that's how I'm trying to add value through numbers, through people who we can maybe inspire now, rather than the millions and billions that is great for your technical side, but can leave you short maybe with fulfillment.
And as you influence others and their businesses, then it's a ripple effect, isn't it? So they'll then go on. It's a bit like a big network that spreads. So at least you've started on that amazing journey. And okay, let's get down to some practicalities about growth and scaling. You talked about growing a couple of businesses, 7 or 8 figures. What strategies did you employ to grow and scale?
Excuse me, sip of tea there, Maxine.
Okay.
So with those 2 businesses, they were very different. One was a big, large, multinational bricks and mortar retailer who'd never done digital before, and one was more or less a couple of friends in a garden great brand positioning and content. Okay, and I worked at Ted Baker many years ago when I was just a young guy who were sort of in that position when I first began. They were only 20 shops at the time. This was the time before e-commerce, but they saw themselves as a startup. So infrastructure is the first thing. Sadly, process and organization. What I try to do with businesses, I try never to take their DNA away from them. If they have the right product that people like, great. If it's a bad product, then the returns and the demand may prove this as well. So I try not to take away from those brands. And when you're in hyper growth, the P&L is it can be quite savage, because you've got to buy stock, you've got to buy media, you've got to buy headcount, all with the theory and all with the belief that you're gonna, to go from 1 to 4 million in anyone's book is such a big challenge as well. So yeah, everything from education to infrastructure is one thing. Now with the other side, you have huge demands on technology as well, and it's like a constant team. Every 2 weeks something new, every two weeks something new, until it sticks, until there's enough momentum that you can begin to bring more traditional CRM, or even become more profitable along the way. If you're trying to get market share, then sometimes that isn't profitable for 2 years as well. Again, education with the teams, processes, blind spots, and just sometimes the talk, those golden nuggets within business, like check each other's homework, is like, it's a 10 out of 10 tip. But so many people don't check their homework, and then in 6 months' time, they realized that there was a gap in the planning. And that can be the biggest downfall of businesses, just the gap in reflection on history to forecast forward as well. My biggest strength, probably individually, is the ability to forecast. Like I say, I love numbers and I can see how the story goes, so it's quite simple. But yeah, there's nothing like a team coming together who grow together without doing it for the people. I always want to leave a business where people are self-sufficient and have got the rest of their life, and hopefully I've inputted somewhere along the way. But it's great to scale those businesses as well, but it's everything from infrastructure to profitability has to be looked at. And if you don't know, get people around you who do know, because there's many businesses that are great that have probably gone bust because they didn't have the safety around them to scale in such a way.
Yeah, that's some great insight there, David. And when you're talking about infrastructure and where we're in this age of AI and technology, how have you, are you a for or against, and how have you embraced AI and technology in your business to deliver your services?
Oh, absolutely. I think, am I for or against AI? Well, I use AI. I guess I'm for it. I understand there's possibly the concern. I understand the concerns around AI, and I can only say from my experience, not being the best at written English, that being able to deliver an email in a better way that is my words, that's maybe grammatically better, has taught me to become better. And so I don't rely on it so much. Some of the websites we work with, we have an image that maybe isn't quite right or quite long enough for the dimensions of the screen, and we can auto generate the background. So there's efficiencies to be had. Within my game in retail, we have a product page that customers go to, and I've seen one brand called evo.com. It's the first brand I've seen, so please check them out if you're an e-commerce enthusiast that sell things like surfboards and skateboards. And within their product page, there is now a powered by AI solution. So we call that a chat PDP, which will make product detail page, which will make sense for anyone technically who's got that interest in e-commerce.
Yeah.
And you can ask it questions, but it suggests questions, and based on the questions you suggest, it will suggest the next 5 questions that are all relative. And you can
Yeah.
even go as far as compare this with, and it will give you a number of solutions. Give me links to sale products that are best sellers. There's a lot of power in there. They're very slow at the minute. But if it's going to help retailers with what I call discovery and better customer service, less returns, more satisfaction, I know what I'm buying, and everything that goes in that, brands will become definitely more successful. And again, delegate them to computers.
Yeah. Yeah. I really echo what you say about efficiencies and people liken it to 80% assistance, and then that 20% is like that icing on the cake, where
Mm.
that's your intellectual property, your experience, your value that you bring to make it authentic. So I'm all for that, especially when you have to
Mm.
articulate things in a certain way to your audiences.
That's it.
Okay, so tell us about your work-life balance. Do you have a work-life balance? How do
Mm.
you manage yourself?
Okay. I probably have, well, I've got the best work-life balance out of everybody here. I'm not sure if any of your audience are watching. I'd love to hear about their own work-life balance and ADHD as well, by the way. But the work-life balance has to be the biggest change in modern work culture in the last 4 or 5 years. When lockdown happened, I knew lots of people who were partying for 6 months. They couldn't believe their luck, that we were all at home and not out wherever we were. That's not what I'm trying to push here. What I'm saying is it is essential for me to have a work-life balance. And by creating those 4 work streams that I talked about before, just donating one of them to family and gifts, that really that sets me up. However, am I a professional part-timer now? Do you remember, Maxine, back in the day when a bit of a part-timer, I'd have that say to me, and I leave the office at 5:30 on time, part-timer.
Oh, I
And then
remember that. That was a culture of
yeah,
presenteeism, when you're if you're not seen, you're not
mm,
working.
yeah,
How far we've come, eh? How
I
far we've
know.
come.
So I'm now a part-timer. Call me a part-timer. I'll be happy for those people who call part-timers a part-timer, because that intentional allocation of time, what it does is it allows me to just stay connected to what's truly important.
Yeah.
What is truly important? Well, I have my values, and I hope people feel the same, because I know, continuously learning, changing, growing, and giving yourself the time to collaborate with inspirational people will give you growth. And if it's growth you want, that's the way you have to do it. If it's not growth you want, cool. But for me, it's essential now.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do you know, I love that saying, intentional allocation of time.
Yes,
I love
still,
it. I'm going to
yeah,
steal that, share it with the audience afterwards.
yeah. It is though, but that's what it is. I intentionally allocated it. Yes, I wanted to make 3 or 4 businesses because I want to prove to myself I can achieve, complete, still win my own Champions Leagues as well as
Mm,
other brands' Champions or Premier Leagues, whichever title we're going for. But yeah, the intentional allocation of time.
I love it. I love it. Um, what's the best piece of advice that you've received as an entrepreneur?
The best piece of advice. If he is out there, Mr. Joe Foster, the founder of Reebok, just gives me them all the time. One word often that says learn. You'll learn a lot. Learn this, do that. Yeah, getting pushed on is good. I would say that Chris Brown, who I've known for many years from the Ted Baker days, and also introduced me to One Golden Nugget. I was in a masterclass with him recently, and he said, "What help do you need?" That was the question that we were all left to think on in the meeting. Actually, I was so inspired that day, because it's all right to admit where you need help, please do admit if you do need help. It's the first step. That is now the first sheet on my calendar, on my critical path. All the days, what help do you need? LinkedIn posts, meet these people, all of that. The practical stuff starts with what help do I need? And if you can get into that, you've got to put the right people around you. Firstly, like I said, there's different levels of experience for startup and entrepreneurs, and you know, my good friends who started in their garden, they put the right people around them as well. So what help do you need? We'll answer that question straight away. Sometimes let it settle. I was never a sleep on it kind of a guy, and you know, in Dubai I was told sleep on it, sleep on that decision, and that helps. And sometimes the ideas, you know, Aaron, who works with me, I'm very still, let's go. You know, and he'll say, does it need to? Can it wait?
Yeah.
Do you need to do it today? And that can be the entrepreneur's curse. If I don't reply, they're going to think it's going to be like that. You can't think what it's going to be like, because you could easily put yourself off. If you believe getting on stage is going to be a scary thing, or writing a book, and you think all the wrong things that can go your way, just think about the opportunity. You know, friend of mine got busted tooth. It's a random example. Got a busted tooth, terrified of going to the dentist. The opportunity is this pain goes away, you get good gum health for the rest of your life and all those things. And they've gone from someone who cried to going into, come on, Em, hit me with it, you know. So somewhere along those three examples, I would say, if there's anyone watching out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. What does the future hold for the digital light bulb and the other businesses that you're creating?
Yes. Well, it starts, you know, the Survive and Thrive book came out in January. It's still going from strength to strength. Our community is looking to do as much good as we can and inspire as many lives. So I've got that going on. I'm looking at a drop shipping business around DNA repair, which involves a 528 hertz frequency whistle flute that I'm getting that raises the vibration of love and life, which is getting a lot of interest right now as well. So hopefully we'll have some stock, be able to showcase that. So that'll be my first kind of brand venture as well.
Yeah.
The speaker agency, like I said, and then next up in April, I'm going to Transylvania for the Transylvania Summit, which is a really amazing, another incredible cast of business diversity, business leaders. Some I don't want to even name drop, but to share the stage or even just be in the same group of these people is, once again, I'm so grateful for it. And this is a no ordinary summit, which talks about technology, health and wellness, and education. So THE is the foundation of this, and I'm really excited to see what connections and what experience just comes from that brand new, unknown, what's behind the door challenge I've set myself and mission that I want to get involved in. You know, the leaders, the organisers of the summit, some great pioneering people as well. So again, please look out for that if you're following me. And I hope to see you there as well, Maxine.
Yes, yeah, you certainly will. You certainly will. The spotlight is still on you, though. So, but yeah, it's So, is there any? Okay, let's talk about niches. And what would you advise entrepreneurs or people that are just starting out? Niche or no niche? What would you say?
Niche or no niche? Well,
Or not to
I love
niche?
I do love the expression, for every blockbuster there's a Netflix. You know, which could be niched, or it could be either, right? I don't know. Follow your heart, but do create the right brand positioning for your brand. I really don't know. And I'm sure there's many bad businesses we could look at that need optimizing. or just being given birth to. Again, sometimes it's harder to change a business that hasn't quite moved with the times than it is to just start a new one again. And you know, I know you don't get the same customers, but you can do what you want, I guess. I still don't know the answer to that question.
There may not be an answer. I guess
I would say get that box of language and that brand positioning in your content spot on, and you'll be able to, I sound like I'm reading something, and you'll be able to conquer any climate or current ecosystem with the right box of language. And hopefully I can share more on that soon. What that means.
Looking forward to you sharing that. Is there a book, podcast, or resource that's been particularly influential for you?
A friend of mine, a book or podcast, there's a few, I've got a few in front of me, and How to Survive and Thrive is absolutely one of them. Oops, dropped something there. That's absolutely one of them. This is another great book. It's called Thinking in Bets. It's by a lady called Annie Duke. I hope you can see that one.
What it does, in Bets.
Thinking in Bets. Yeah, what it does is Annie Duke wasn't a poker player that got into it, and I believe she did really well. In fact, World Series poker champion at one point, and it was her brother that she followed around, and she got speaking in Thinking of Bets, and behind a glass screen she would actually do like guest commentary and say this is going to be worth 80% for this player. And what happened was it didn't happen. Somebody else won, and she got some grief from someone in the audience who said, you said that was 80%. And she said, yes, that is the 80%, but what you saw was the 20%. So I'm all about how can you add a few percentages, like we do with conversion rate optimization, like we do with asking customers to say yes to our marketing, within your own personal profile, just those extra percentages that can help you along the way. So this is a great book, which was the question. And then my ultimate favorite is a poet called Mike Garry. From Manchester. Mike Garry ran a homework club in Salford for 15 years. That takes some real credit as a human being to do that. And every day for 15 years, he would have those kids. Here's mine, sir. What do you think? After they'd given him a whole load of, again, grief at the start, to presenting every day for 15 years. He now talks for 5, 6, 7 minutes off his head with the most beautiful, deep, poetry, whether it's about his mum or, a family who may have had a drugs problem, something dark and gritty, that real good British, passionate poetry. And I've got so much time for Mike. So, yeah, they're my 3 I would go for.
Yeah, excellent. Any final words of wisdom or encouragement for the audience?
Encouragement or wisdom? Wisdom,
or
learn,
both,
change.
Or both.
Yeah, wisdom, learn, change, grow. You have to learn, change, grow. And if you can't change your attitude. And sometimes that means putting something in your life on one side, or a person, or a social media platform, but learn, change, grow should get you quite a long way, and your team as well. Stepwise progression, one step at a time. You make one week better than the next. I've seen people sell businesses for tens of millions of pounds just by making themselves better every week. And it means if you go swimming 20 lengths, it doesn't mean go swimming 4 times next week. It means just go do 21. And within a number of months, years, weeks, days, things will magically appear. I guess my biggest amount of wisdom, Maxine, which you reminded me of the other day, was ask for gifts. What gifts have you got for me today? Ask the universe for gifts. I promise they'll come. Ipek, if you're watching, thank you for that amazing nugget. I was asked to give this to my children so they would live in a state of adventure. And they did it for one day. And then the second day they said, shut up, Dad, go away. But I kept asking for gifts. What gifts have you got for me today? And, strength to strength. And you appreciate, maybe those gifts were coming. You just see them more and everything becomes that little bit more lighter and a bit more fun.
I love that. I could talk to you all
I
day.
know.
How can our audience and people get a hold of you? What's the best way that they can contact you if they want to reach out and talk to you?
Thank you, Maxine. Get me on LinkedIn. I'll put a comment here if you want. Find me on Instagram. I've only got 84 followers. Perhaps you were here at the beginning before we got to 100 or even 100,000 one day. Who knows? But get in there before 100 at the Digital Light Bulb. I keep my personal one personal, just for friends. Yeah, get hold of me and look out for the Impulse speakers in the summer.
Oh, that's brilliant. This has been another episode of In the Spotlight with David Abel, CEO and best-selling co-author of How to Survive and Thrive. David, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today, and no doubt we will talk more in the weeks to come.
I can't wait. Thank you, Maxine, and
thank you.
Best to all your audience.
Take care. Thanks.
See you later.